of almost $1,400 in alleged correspondence, which is uncorroborated amongst one another in these three attorneys over a period of only 20 days. For this reason, I move that these bills be separated for two reasons, actually. I move that they be separated for a separate voice vote, not that they be moved to be unpaid, but just move that they be separated for a separate voice vote. For two reasons, first of which is the one I just mentioned, and the second one of which is that we recently...
Point of order. If you made a motion, you need a second, and then the discussion will go on.
I haven't finished making a motion.
Oh, I thought you made the motion that you wanted to pull them out and have a separate voice vote. That's what I heard.
Okay. Okay, so then I rescind my motion to finish my discussion of this, the approval of the motion to approve the town fund. The other concern that I have is that this board, without my approval, this board recently passed a resolution not to pay any bills unless there was, for any attorneys who do not carry liability insurance. And I'm wondering, has anyone received any kind of proof of liability or policies at all for any of these attorneys?
I have.
Have you shared that with can you share that with the board so that I can approve them?
Not tonight, but I was at the meeting for, I can definitely go.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Not tonight, but I definitely will. I was not prepared to bring it tonight. I didn't know you were going to be asking for it.
Well, we have to approve these bills, and we have a resolution that says we can't approve them without proof of their liability insurance.
And when I was fighting that, saying that they needed to have proof of it, they did send me proof that they had liability insurance.
Okay. Would you please send that
Yes.
in the future? Because
Yes.
as it stands
Absolutely.
right now, I do not have proof that they have liability insurance. Okay.
Let me ask a question, can I? Rachel? Or no, you don't
Me?
have to, yeah.
I don't know what I can answer for you, but sure,
So-
you could ask.
Did you know about that before this meeting, that you were gonna ask that tonight?
I knew it as soon as I found it out this evening when the first anomaly popped out to me.
So it was this evening, so it wasn't, you didn't, when you got the packet, it wasn't 2
We
days ago.
didn't get this nobody in this room got, unless I've been misinformed, unless the email listing each one of us was falsified, or you guys had information I wasn't privy to. None of our board members here got any of this information until 4:29 p.m. on Monday evening.
Yeah.
So I've been hard at work since less than 51 hours since then to try and do my job and go over hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills, over 200 and some pages of bills to audit, and not to mention this anomaly with these attorneys' bills. So that is a concern to me, and I think it's a valid one considering that you guys just passed. We as a board, although I did not vote for it, we as a board just passed this resolution, and I, as a board member, I don't know why, you did, I'm not going to criticize why. I think that it would have been beneficial for you if you had some information to share with the board so that we could then approve bills.
You can ask for it. If you sent an email,
So
send
how
it
could
and ask
I
them for it.
approve bills if I don't have the proof?
But if you asked any of the attorneys, well, I asked.
Okay, so if you had the information, if you chose not to share with the board,
I asked, I got the information I needed.
okay, I'll just FOIA it from you because I don't want to contact the attorneys because the attorneys will bill for it. That's the reason why, to answer your question, that's the reason why I didn't contact the attorneys.
Okay.
Okay, so she's asking, if I understand, is to remove those 3 bills.
No, I'm not asking to move to not pay them. I'm just moving to vote on them, approve them separately.
Well, Okay.
You rescinded it, so what, is you already making a new motion now?
Okay, yeah, sure. I make a motion to vote separately on the group of bills which include Matuzewicz and Kelly invoice 10134, Matuzewicz and Kelly invoice number 10135, Zukowski, Rogers, Flood, and McCardle invoice number 132358, Zukowski, Rogers, Flood, and McCardle invoice number 132888, and the Gooch Firm invoice number 1422.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay,
That is to
Motion
remove
fails.
those?
no, the motion failed, there is no second. Okay, now we need to go back to the original, back to the town fund unless there's another discussion
Well,
on something else.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's unfair for what she's asking, so I'd like to make a motion that
You can second.
we approve these bills,
Okay,
and
I
I,
haven't seconded. Okay, we got one motion that was
Okay.
made, and I didn't get a second. So
Okay.
what do you want me to do? Because this is why we have
it
problems
doesn't,
with our
doesn't
meeting
matter.
minutes.
That doesn't matter.
Motion failed. Now what are we doing?
Okay,
Discussing what?
I was just discussing
Okay.
myself.
Okay,
I would not be opposed to, passing their bills, and there's a 20 days limit for me to send those out as a supervisor. So I have to send the bill out within 20 days. I don't think there should be any charge for any attorney doing business with the township to send me a copy of the liability certificate. So I would like to make a motion that we, accept the motion to pass the bills and giving the authority to the supervisor to hold those bills until, for two reasons. Number one, until we get I get a copy of the liability certificate, which would be nothing for them to do, okay? And number two, I will not want to pay any of the attorney's bills until they respond to our auditor as well. Because we have some attorneys that are supposed to respond to our auditor, our audit, and it's the only thing that's keeping our audit open. So I would like to have some motion for that. And if I can get a second, then I'll make the motion, second, I get a second. Yes.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Discussion?
Go ahead.
What then comes about with this $1,400 in anomalous billing?
That's not my, that's
uncorroborated
nothing to do with my
anomalous
motion.
billing?
That's nothing to do with my motion.
Okay, so once this motion is done, then we can talk about that. Because we go back to the original motion, because we will ask that. That's a good question.
okay, we need a roll call vote
Please.
now? Are we done?
Yeah,
Okay.
roll call on my motion.
Victor?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Nope.
Bledsoe?
Yes. Thank you, I want to get those reports in. Okay. We have a main motion that approves the, town fund, right? Okay,
At least discussion.
all right, discussion.
Yeah,
I
that's
gotta
what,
make a motion before we.
Well, actually, I was just curious, according to Robert's rules, is the chairman allowed to make a motion or
Yes,
only
they are.
second?
yes.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure, thank you.
Oh,
I'm just concerned, I don't know what to do about this. Literally every single one, I have them here if anybody would like to review them. I mean, literally every single one, we're talking about a month's worth of, I mean, we're talking like dozens of communications and not a single one matches up or corroborates to the other two? I mean,
you remember when, we got the rooms bill, we said, look, we can't just pay it
this bill
unless.
is not a subject of this, it's not germane to this meeting.
Hello? I have before. Remember when we got Hamlin's bill and we
Point of
said
order?
we weren't going to pay it until and unless he had some details? I think that that's something that we should insist from the other attorneys as well, that things like that be documented, and when we notice it, you know, we want to know why. I don't see anything wrong with asking attorney firms that. I think that's a good catch.
And what happens if they, when and if they ignore it?
Or what, us asking?
Yes,
I don't know, that's a separate issue, so.
it's unenforceable. The only action, the only power we have is to not pay the bill until it's corrected.
Where'd it go?
Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Well, what I see here is someone is unhappy because attorneys are not billing us. So maybe we should remind them that we should be billed for the time that the attorney talks to each other because they're forgetting. Because it's obvious that we just want to throw the money away.
Rachel, is it possible that, that an attorney called the other attorney, which, you know, he would charge for, and the other attorney never called him back, which is why it wouldn't show up on their
Not
record?
when you're talking the lengths of time that are billed.
I'm just trying to think of other things. So let's ask them.
Actually, just a really quick response to trustee Shade's comment. It's not that, you know, it has nothing to do with, you know, I want you to build more. You know, it has nothing to do with that or you know, taking their mistake to our advantage and saying, hey, we don't want to correct your mistake. I value honesty. I value integrity. And if there's a mistake, if somebody gives me too much change, I give it back. And if there's an error, and if there's anomalies like this that are so prevalent in just the very first time that I've ever actually delved into this, it makes me wonder how many times this has happened before, how many of it is actually legitimate, and it's very concerning to me.
Yeah. I'd like to ask the attorney just, how can you explain how these things happen? Because it's my understanding that if you're talking to another attorney about another case, both of you are billing, right?
You could.
Right? But there's been times when you talk to other attorneys and that one attorney's billed and you have not, or vice versa, I
Or at
guess.
times where I talk to you and I get.
Right.
So just
Yeah.
because it's, we talk for 2 minutes, we talk for 10 or 15 minutes and it's contemporaneous and we don't go for it. Or we don't have time to, or I'm in the car. and
But
I-
every single time for an entire
So you're,
month? Is it for
can you
three
just clarify
different
for
attorneys?
me? I'm missing the question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? What you're saying is attorney A is talking to attorney B and then they're not, and then they're billing and it
There's three.
shows up at a different time.
No, I'm talking about where there are, where there is a bill, an itemization, for example, for July 23rd. Call so-and-so regarding whatever, hour and a half, among other things. But on the other attorney that is named, there's nothing, not on that date or otherwise. This is not just a discrepancy in
That
the amount
happens
of time.
because they don't do it, they don't bill.
We're talking about an entire, I think that if you took a look at this, I think that you might find it a little more concerning than just something that could be explained like, oh, one attorney didn't bill. Because we have attorneys that are billing and then not billing, and it's all between these three attorneys. Correspondence with one another. And we're not talking just telephone calls, we're talking emails, we're talking conferences, and we're talking $1,400 just in the less than a month that I looked at. Just for them to talk to one another, which is not corroborated by each other. That's all I have to say.
I think it's a serious question. Good question.
Yep, good question.
I don't know what the
Just
resolution
makes
is.
me wonder what the rest of the, it's just discussion,
And how
because
about that?
there's obviously, our only recourse was to not pay the bill and to reject it and ask them to redo it, which obviously now the ship has sailed. But, I think I needed to bring that to the attention, and it concerns me because this is the first time I've ever looked at it, and it makes me wonder
Mhm.
how long this has been going on, and what's the cause? Maybe it's purely innocuous.
Absolutely. We'll find out.
I don't know how we do anything but really trust these attorneys because I mean,
Well,
What?
Sean, can you as the supervisor, reach out to these
I-
attorneys
well,
and bring
I
that to
should-
their,
I sure can, but I tell you, I was asked by Mr. Shea to look at Rob Hamlin's bill, the last one that we had.
Yeah.
And I studied it, until my eyes went blind, and the print was that small, and it seemed good. I don't know, it was a huge bill, it was good at billing, I'm not criticizing her county. I am not an expert. You almost need a billing expert or a payroll expert to come in and look at these things, because there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, we all can just reject the bills and ask for more detail. I just did that for another, how would we say, vendor, right? I just sent a note to another vendor, I don't wanna name the vendor, who bills by the hour, and all we do is get a bill for $650. I just typed up a letter and sent it to that vendor and said, I'm not paying this bill. I can do this to everybody, I mean, I don't know, how we're gonna get to it.
so you as the supervisor, I may speak, can you as the supervisor talk to these attorneys and
Absolutely.
explain this to them that it doesn't make sense and that you need more detail?
Right.
Without being billed.
Right.
But I'll tell you, I mean, the biggest bill I saw, and it seemed like the most detailed one, I hate to say it, it was, that's the art, I guess. I mean, I'm not an attorney,
Right, but maybe you can get an answer, and then maybe that answer is going to be something very simple, and it will be fine, but I think that it is worth you bringing it up.
I'm happy to do it.
There was an action last month where trustee Shea had asked, that, attorney Bill be studied, and that was agreed.
And I went through it, and I'm telling you, I couldn't, and then, I guess you can comment on that, right, further?
I've been, working at, I've identified a person that can review those bills.
Can you speak into the microphone?
And, the bills were, sent over to that individual, and I've taken that on as, calling this person a controlled witness, just so that we can protect, the independence of the process at this point. And, literally, that occurred today.
Okay.
I was out of town for part of over the last month. So, I mean, that's where we are with that part of the process. I expect to have some type of, report or analysis, at least, oral, most likely, sometime next week.
No.
So, our motion right now is to pay those,
And hold him for 20 days.
or no, not 20 days, until I get,
Yeah, he made his motion now.
so that passed, that we can hold it for 20,
Okay.
up to 20 days,
Yeah.
until I get a certificate of insurance, as well as if they fulfill the auditor, because our auditor is getting on our case, because, we have some attorneys that are outside of, providing the information, we have to have our audit done by September 21st. And so, I like to have that pass, and I guess we will pass this,
Yes.
and then we can also, there's no motion, but a direction from the board for me to work with Mr. Kelly, person, see if we can audit all the attorney's bills, or at least take a look at them and see if there's some fairness to it.
Well, you have to come up with some rules. I mean,
Right.
because some of these bills are created contemporaneously, some of them deal with litigation, and the attorneys are not going to necessarily want to in detail
Right.
list things.
Sure.
They're not gonna wanna disclose certain strategy, I understand that.
Mhm.
There's certain strategy when they bill that they have to keep confidential because they're disclosing what their strategy is. If they have a meeting or a conference and there's a strategy, they don't want from the billing.
With the 2 words phone call.
No, I get
doesn't
it.
disclose any strategy.
I get that. And that's a good request. I mean, it's frustrating how much money we've spent on legal fees. I think that, hopefully some of this will come to an end, but it seems like the, judges, I don't want, I get in trouble, I don't want judges mad at me, but, seem to just let these things these cases drag on and drag on and drag on, and, that's unfortunate as well. It'd be nice to have a very, I think you're swift, conclusion to some of these lawsuits, and, you know, every time I get an email from council, I open it with great excitement, and then it's postponed for October 2nd, or
Yeah,
August 15th, or whatever.
it's gonna be like 50 days, right?
Yeah, so, I don't know.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna pay this bill, but then put everybody on notice? Is that-
We've already voted on
Okay,
paying those, but you're gonna hold them until you get your certificate, your motion.
okay.
We seconded it and we passed it. Now we're gonna vote on the town fund.
Okay,
Just to clarify, Supervisor Lozo's motion was to hold them 20 days.
no,
to
up
request
to
the-
20 days.
Up to 20 days to request the insurance info as well as fulfill the auditor's request. Okay, thank you.
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes?
Lawrence, Bledsoe.
Yes. Okay. We're moving, we're chugging. I'd like to entertain a motion to, audit the claims of the general assistance fund of $12,359.51. Can I get a second?
I second, is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Who
Or
motioned?
no,
I
excuse me,
make
a
a
motion.
motion,
Motion is passed.
yeah.
Okay.
Who seconded?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Took so long in the first one, and
I know.
I forgot what was the number one.
Sorry.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay,
Not this one.
okay,
Victor?
I do, no,
Oh,
wait,
okay.
I just wanna point out one thing. There was an additional bill in this aisle that might have been new to you, and I forgot exactly how much it was, but it was the renewal software for
Mhm.
the,
That's not it.
for
It was
the,
in
okay,
there, yep.
okay, I just wanted to point that out. Okay, otherwise, go ahead.
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Shay,
Yes?
Lawrence,
Yes.
Bledsoe.
Yes. From you? Thank you. Motion to pay the road and bridge fund, out of the road and bridge fund, $19,024.04. Can I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay,
Second.
Ms. Lawrence first and Shay second. Okay, any discussion?
Chapman second, sorry.
Shelley second.
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes?
Lawrence,
Yes.
Bledsoe.
Yes. Okay,
Can you pass that?
yeah, sure. All right, equipment and building, can I get a motion to approve the funds of equipment and building fund of $138,748.24? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes?
Lawrence,
Yes.
Bledsoe.
Yes. All right. I want to appreciate everyone for coming out, and we have speakers, and does anyone want to speak? We appreciate the positive input that you will provide, and Ms. Majewski is asked to be the first speaker.
I don't
And so, and like we said, either go up the stage, you sit where you're at, or just stand the,
I don't talk very loud, but
okay,
I'll try to be quick.
thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the supervisor's time last week. I had asked apparently you approved the June 13th meeting minutes, and if they were similar to the draft I saw, they were a disaster. These last minutes were shorter, but they are the public record, and for that reason, it's very important that they're accurate. You know how many lawsuits have referred to the the minutes, and accuracy is very important. And I think you're making an effort towards Robert rules to proceed in an orderly fashion. The other thing that concerned me was that the setting up of these phones, the hacking of your phone system, the fact that it wasn't cleared up. From time to time, I've called and I've gotten Diane Clem's voice on the recordings, and you're shuttled around to so many extensions. I said that really the phone system is very bad. I mean, you have more extensions than the Pentagon. Also, the website showed that there was a new process to use for ticketing FOIAs. It was a new process. You should access it using your computer. I'm not really great in the computer. You shouldn't be forced to use a computer, but I thought, well, I stopped by the office, and Pam was very gracious and said, well, gee, I can't pull it up. Young man from across the hall came in, and he's on the screen there clicking. He couldn't pull it up. I said, who sets up the website? The IT guy, whoever he is responsible for the phones and for the new tracking of FOIAs. I said to Chuck, why are you not letting out bids or interviewing people to set up a proper phone system and the website? And now there's an ad for somebody who's going to, direct people to information around the county and various things. So only in government do you pay people for not doing a job. And that, I think, is wrong. And the other thing, too, the ladies in the highway department were very nice, and I had not been happy with the use of the senior buses. There are people who definitely need a bus. It usually is medical related, and it's important. And at some time, we talked about suggesting vouchers, and the ladies in response to a FOIA gave me very detailed information. We're reimbursed like 21 cents a mile. You pay $2 for a trip wherever you want to go, and there's a limited amount of people using it. I think it could be more efficient. What caught my attention, one Friday I went to Fresh Market to get our cookies for the office. I'm going around in the section to do my shopping, seeing a couple a little younger than I am, and I left the building, and here's the Township bus. And I said, gee, the Township bus. And I said, just one person? And he said, oh, sometimes we have more. And I apologized for this snippy little remark. I said, well, it's not a good use of the tax money. I tell you, that man was so polite, his demeanor so nice, and his appearance. That's the best impression I ever got of Algonquin Township, whoever the bus driver was that day. He was very courteous. But whether you're old or young paying the bill, I don't think we should subsidize people who are taking the bus to go shop for imported cheeses. That is not fair, okay?
Yeah. And I usually don't comment, but I did let the bus driver know that how appreciated you were of his kindness. And so, anyways, let's do next person who would like to speak. Would Aaron authorized to speak?
No,
Okay,
I'm just here for food.
okay. Megan Wilson?
Just a few things. I was wondering where Trustee Victor and Trustee Chapman stand on the research that they committed to doing into the consolidation of the road district into the township. I realize Mr. Chapman wasn't on that thread, but Trustee Victor kind of spoke for you. I was looking for an update on that, if they're looking at Wheeling Township, if they're looking at Hanover Township, and saw how that all went. Next would be, the video recording. Trustee Chapman contacted me via Facebook to report again this evening. He said they were looking into what I'm assuming the Village of Cary has, something that's mounted and it incorporates the sound and all these wonderful things. In the meantime, I don't understand why the camera that the clerk bought to record the meetings isn't recording the meetings.
I mean, should I submit a bill for recording the meetings? I'm pretty sure the person that was working the clerk's camera was getting paid.
No, actually, that's not true. So, that's not true at all.
Just curious why that can't happen. And then very curious as to why the resolution that was posted in the Northwest Herald offers a big old loophole that as long as you're qualified, forget it, it doesn't matter, it doesn't count. I thought the point was to increase the ethicalness of the township, not decrease it. That is all.
Thank you. Mr. Skinner?
Yeah, I would again ask that the backup data for the township meeting be shared with the taxpayers before the meeting. I mean, at this point, it's not shared with taxpayers at all. But the only thing that's on the clerk's website is the agenda. The resolutions you're considering today are not there. They are.
I don't know what the reason is. That's not it's public documents on state government. So if you want me to do it, then pass.
All right, anybody else? All right, you want to say something? Yes.
My last chance. Deborah Jensen, JENSSEN, Lake in the Hills. And, yeah, I'd like to, whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. I also read the resolution, against nepotism, and it undoes itself. It just seems useless. It's okay to have nepotism, it's okay to hire a family member according to the resolution if they're more qualified than somebody else that might apply for the position. Who's going to determine that? The person hiring, who would be the family member. It just seems like a useless resolution to me. You tabled the first one in order to tweak it, to come up with something better. In my opinion, this is not something better. Maybe it should go back into the works again and try to come up with something that really is anti-nepotism. This, I don't think, fits that bill. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thanks for making your comments to the board. I guess we have new business, resolution recognizing the board's delegating authority to employ township supervisors, employees to the township supervisor. I just want to give a little bit of background because there's a little confusion. Right now, the township supervisor's office has one employee, and then in the past it had one employee, 1.5 employees, and then when we let the one employee go, we've been using a temp agency to fill that temp part-time employee for the last, I believe 6 months, right? Oh, okay. So I make, can someone make a motion? I'm sorry, I should have just put out, got a lie to myself. Motion to pass this, make a motion to pass, this resolution recognizing the board's delegating authority to employ the township supervisors, employees to township supervisor.
Would that be right aloud?
You want?
Traditionally enacted.
Yeah.
There's a motion. Who made the motion?
We have a motion to pass it. Is there a second?
Who made the motion?
The chair, right?
Chairman? Oh, okay.
If you'd like, pass me a copy, I'll read it.
All right, Dan.
Dan, did you second it?
Yeah.
No, I just was asking.
Melissa second.
All right, this is a resolution recognizing board and delegating authority to employ township supervisors and employees to township supervisors. Whereas Algonquin Township is a unit of local government in McHenry County, state of Illinois, and whereas the Illinois Township Code 60 ILCS 1/F took effect on January 1st, 1994. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Your microphone would help, but since you asked.
Whereas the Illinois Township Code is designed to enumerate the various responsibilities and actions of a township and its elected officials, and whereas pursuant to 60 ILS 1/70-15A, the township supervisor is the chief executive officer of the township, and whereas pursuant to 60 ILCS 1/100-5, the township board has the authority to employ and fix the compensation of township employees. And whereas the township board may delegate the authority to employ and fix the compensation of a township employee to the township supervisor. And whereas the township supervisor has authority to hire for his own office within his budgetary constraints and desires to hire support staff for his office. And whereas there appears to be a conflict in the laws and the township supervisor and the township board want to make it clear that the supervisor has the authority to hire employees for the operation of the township within his budgetary authority. Now therefore be it resolved by the Algonquin Township Board, McHenry County, Illinois. 1. Recitals. The recitals set forth above are incorporated here as if set forth fully here. Granting of authority. The supervisor is granted the authority to make all employment decisions pertaining to employees in the township, including hiring, terminating, and fixing compensation within the supervisor's budgetary authority. 3. Effective date. This resolution shall be enforced and in effect from August to be filled in 2018. Passed this such as the day of August 2018 by the Board of Trustees of Algonquin Township. That's finished. McHenry County, Illinois, to do that.
Any discussion?
Yes. So I have several concerns and questions about this resolution. First, Attorney Kelly, you authored this resolution, correct? Is it safe to assume you authored all three of the resolutions before us tonight?
Well, someone in my office did, yeah.
So your office is responsible, okay. You acknowledge in the recitals that the township board has the authority to employ and set the compensation for township employees in citing the specific statute, 60 ILCS 1/100-5, where the township board has the authority to employ and fix the compensation of township employees, with the exception of, and I'm adding this on my own from memory from knowing the law, that with the exception of the employees of the supervisor of general assistance, the assessor, and the auditor, but we don't have an auditor. So,
You're allowed
but yet, the specific statute which clearly confirms it is cited here, but yet the very next sentence, whereas the township board may delegate the authority and employ the fixing, and to employ and fix the compensation to the township supervisor, does not have a cited statutory citation. Why is that? And will you please cite any statute confirming that, if one exists?
First of all, the township board has the authority to delegate any of the duties that it has. Second, first, I don't believe this resolution is necessary at all. In Henry County, we have a trial court decision by Judge Caldwell that essentially says the supervisor, as chief executive officer, can do certain things to include fire employees. So that's McHenry County. But we have this conflict between that particular provision and this second provision that talks about the township's board's authority. That provision, for the most part, I would interpret, and I have interpreted it, to mean that the township board has the ability to hire township employees as in a administrator, a social worker, but usually not for necessarily a specific elected office, such as the clerk or the supervisor, because the duty of those, let's say in this case, administrative assistant, or really this person is what, answer the phone maybe, and do filing and things like that. Their duty is really to work for the supervisor, not the board, so to be relatively extremely ineffective and not efficient to have this board interview and decide who the supervisor should hire to do work for him, especially since they're going to work with him. In this case, with the Diane Klein. So generally, I don't see that language in 100-5 as dealing with the immediate report of the supervisor. However, if we do have this conflict, the board has the authority to, the diligence rule, to take care of and to take actions that are in compliance with this authority. We can delegate that to the supervisor to hire his own employee. Let's face it, who's going to report, who's that employee going to report to? It's not going to be Dan Shea, it's not going to be Mr. Chapman, or the clerk, it's going to be Mr. Russell. So the board clearly has authority to delegate authority to the supervisor to take action on a whole series of things. Just a common sense application of doing it. So, that being said, further, I think you've already given him basically funds to hire someone. And I tell you that's authority in and of itself. But it's your resolution, you can do whatever you want with it, okay? And that's with all these resolutions. I just, especially the patronage, nepotism resolution, I was sort of first stab to see what the heck you wanted. There's some reasons behind some of the language in that resolution. There's some reason behind this resolution. But once again, it's up to you on how you want to deal with it. Feel free to modify it as you wish.
Thank you. I just have a few other issues, if you don't mind. So thank you for confirming that there is no statutory citation giving the board authority to delegate its statutory duties. And I don't believe there is a conflict in the law whatsoever. In fact, I think it's very, very clear. Furthermore, I think that this proposed resolution is not legal, that the board lacks the authority to delegate its statutory duties, and that this resolution is an attempt at an 11th hour remedy to the fact that the supervisor has already placed an ad on Indeed.com for an assistant, including a pay rate set by the supervisor. It also invites litigation by any of our constituents, and I strongly oppose it. That's it.
May I?
Yeah.
Did you have to do this resolution, Mr. Wetzel?
According to the attorney, no.
Why did you decide to do this
Well,
resolution?
the reason why is, first of all, I can take out an ad, and we'll see what kind of people are out there. Mrs. Lawrence has been the one who's been promoting that we look all deep and wide and don't hire our friends and all that stuff. And so I took out an ad, which is the type of person we were looking for.
And are you allowed to take out an ad?
I think it's a free country, I think, yeah. I took out an ad, we got a bunch of resumes in.
According to the statutes.
Taking an ad out, we didn't know what kind of person we were gonna get. We didn't know if we were gonna find somebody who just knew general assistance that came back. So we took out an ad, let it out to the people, and just so you know, it's not like we're trying to grow government here. We've had one full-time person there and one part-time person there for the last 10 years, and when we got rid of the person that was working there, and one of our people moved to full-time, we've been using a temp agency, and everyone's been voting for a temp agency for the last 6 months to have a part-time employee there from 9 to 1 p.m., and everyone's paid that, and no one's had a problem with that. But as we progress and work through these temp agencies, we wanted to find somebody, and we went out to the public and see if we could find someone who would stay with us, be better, hopefully better. And so that's why we took on that. We didn't know, the person might have just fallen right under GA, because we did put confidential information on the ad, but it's just a simple ad.
Okay, question, what is the statute that the supervisor is not allowed to take out the ad? Can you tell me the
Dylan's rule.
statute? In Dylan's rule, it says that he is not allowed to hire.
It says that the township board and elected officials are specifically allowed these duties and authorities and no others.
Right, but he is allowed to hire.
So unless it is specifically enumerated,
Right,
they're
but he
not
is
allowed to do it.
Right, but if he has the money in his budget, he is allowed to hire and do an ad, correct?
So,
No.
So there is nothing that states that.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to reasonably take the actions that
Right.
are contemplated to fulfill the requirements of the
Okay,
statute.
yeah.
I mean, this is not like I'm trying to build a patronage army here with one and
Nobody's
one
saying you are.
half part-time employee.
Nobody's saying you are.
And
No,
and
I
I
know
took
that,
the
so-
ad out because everyone's saying, let's have fairness.
Because you need help.
We definitely need an extra person there. It's not a new person. We've had a temp agency. They filled it for 3 months. The lady that we had, we really liked her. Then she took a full-time job. Then we had another lady who we kind of liked, you know, I'm just gonna be polite. And so we decided that instead of going back to the temp agency, where we're paying a premium for them to make an extra cut on the money, on the wages, we decided that, we're gonna see what was available.
Okay,
That's
so
why we
did you
took out
have,
that.
so you did not have to do this resolution, you can just hire somebody.
According to all I wanted to do was up and up, all I said to Mr. Kelly was, I heard exactly from Rachel, not Rachel, but other people talking about, you know, how you hire. I talked to other township supervisors, they all just hired. None of them went through this. All I asked is the attorney, can I hire someone? He said, yes. Then I said, well, you know what? I wanna go up and beyond what is normal within the township. So that I asked him to write an extra resolution, and I think he said to me, he would put something special together for me. And, like, well, you're right, and that's why we're doing this. This is, but, I mean, this person, we have a person that's doing a great job, as we all know in my office right now, but she has to take vacations, and she has to,
No,
do some things like that, and it's that simple. We're not growing government, we're not increasing anything, and this person's not just gonna answer the phone, by the way. I mean, the person's gonna be cross-trained. I could pay her right out of GA, and there'd be nothing that anybody could say. But the fact of the matter is, I would like this person to learn GA, and as my other person have GA, do GA, but also be able to do other things, because we're such a small office that you want someone that's cross-trained, you don't want someone who just can do one thing. And, on top of it, I just will tell you that our auditor came in, and he said that for a township our size, I have the smallest office as a township supervisor that he's ever seen.
Right, so, okay, so you had money in your budget to do this.
Oh, I had
and
money
you
in the
were,
budget to do
and
this.
you are allowed to do this.
I
and
just
you did
wanted,
not need
I
this
just wanted to be
resolution
as
to make this
transparent as
happen.
possible.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that you did not need to make this resolution to happen, you have money in your
If
budget.
this, I'm fully in favor of this, if it clarifies it and puts it down on paper, that'll take care of all these idle comments that we keep having on
Correct.
petty stuff.
Mhm.
Mr. Supervisor, I find that, indeed, courts should not make law, the legislature makes law. And what I see in the code is it specifies that you may hire 2 GA employees, and that the township board shall employ the rest of those people. Now, I'm gonna ask you, what's the problem with us doing that? What's the problem with following the code, following the township code that we're supposed to do? It's in there, and if it wasn't supposed to be done, and every other township does it, I don't care. It says that we shall, not that we could or we might, it says that we shall.
Says May.
Well, I just asked the attorney, I told him what I wanted accomplished, and I asked him for his help. I mean, I don't know how else to answer that. We have to wait a whole other month and do something different, or have a special meeting? You know, I mean, we have a good person, I mean, this is not like, I mean, this is not something that I wanna be fighting about.
I don't think anyone's fighting.
We
I
don't
think
know.
this is all productive discussion.
Yes, we don't wanna fight about it either.
Okay.
Would anyone else like to say anything before I speak again? I already know I spoke once.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to take issue with one thing. A temp, we all know that you've had your temporary employee. A temp is actually a contractor, not an employee. So that's kind of like apples and oranges. Nitpicking, I know, but there is a difference. And I'm just wondering, you know, we were elected, trustee Victor, Chapman and Shea, I, and Supervisor Lessa, we're all elected to perform specific duties as enumerated in Township Code and other Illinois statute. And I'm just concerned that we, well, basically, are you all okay with the potential of a constituent suing the township based on the fact that the trustees have relinquished the duties for which they were elected to perform? In perpetuity. You realize that this resolution is in perpetuity. So the next supervisor after him and the next supervisor after him will have this power. This does not expire.
It can be taken away by somebody down the line also. It's not like it's chiseled in the wall here. I mean, to make it sound so rock hard, it's not that.
Can you give your insight on this?
You know, if you want to set an expiration date, that's fine. I mean, that's, you know, it's,
Well,
once again, I mean.
I don't agree with it in the first place because it opens us up to litigation. Then that's the very last thing that we need.
It doesn't, anything this board does opens itself up to litigation. However, to prevail in a lawsuit of the type you're describing, you're going to have to show that the litigant, the plaintiff, would show that the board acted in an arbitrary and unreasonable manner, and that there is no legitimate legislative purpose for its action. And the long and short of it, from what I've heard here, they're not acting in any way arbitrarily. It seems like a reasonable request to create at least resolve a conflict in the law. And they certainly have a legitimate legislative purpose for enacting this type of legislation.
Thank you.
I have a quick question before we close discussion. I'm assuming that we're almost done here. Sorry if I'm wrong, but the statute specifically describes the office of the supervisor of general assistance. They do not anywhere in township code describe the office of the supervisor of the township. So any employee that is hired wherever they're going to work for, you know, emptying trash cans or setting up chairs or, you know, any payroll employee that does work for the township other than the road district will be a township employee unless they are specifically hired as a general assistance only employee. And so that's my only concern is I just want to do it by the book, and I would ask you, Supervisor Lessa, with all due respect, what is the harm in having a board approve your selection for your hire?
there was no intention of that, to harm anybody. I just asked,
So it's okay then?
what do you mean?
There's no harm in a board approving your selection for a
I don't think
hire.
anyone would have a problem doing it. And we're talking about, I mean, you know, who
So
knows?
then what's the need for this resolution?
I asked Mr. Kelly what was the best way for us to add an employee. In the past 100 years here, people would just, the supervisor would just hire somebody. And you can have people, I don't know if it's the case, I can put people and pay them under general assistance, but I didn't think I was being very transparent, because I've got people that I have, I want them cross-trained.
We all know what happened in the past here, and that some of it was not exactly as by the book. But what we're trying to do, what I hope to do moving forward, is to change it so we are doing everything by the book.
And that's what I asked the attorney if I was doing that. I was doing it. And that's why I asked for a resolution as well. I didn't ask for a resolution.
So if
He
you
came up with
don't
the
have an
resolution.
issue with the township board approving your, recommended employee and fixing their compensation, then what is the need for this resolution?
He said I don't need it. He told me the township
You could do it,
attorney said I could just hire somebody, period.
or you could, if you want to have a board
Okay,
approve
so
it,
you
it's fine.
agree it's unnecessary?
I was just trying to do, be transparent with the board. I mean, everyone's always out to say we're not open or whatever, or there's comments. And so all I wanted to do is say, we're not adding to government, we're not making it bigger, and we're,
That's not
trying
an
to,
issue.
well, that's important to me. And, that the person is, we wanna offer someone a good position, but we also don't wanna be in a situation where we make the phone call for the person we're thinking about, and they don't even wanna come back, because this board's always, in something. But I just asked him what was the best procedure to do, and that's what he came up with.
I believe the best procedure, Mr. Supervisor, is, as you know, I've been a stickler on this since day one, making sure that the employees that we're hiring are hired through the right process. You have the authority to hand out contracts, landscaping and cleaning and things like that. Specifically, we don't want to get involved in denying you or causing up any problem with you hiring it. So I think that we just go on, you bring us the list of the person that you think, and the township board pursuant to the statute approves that person and sets their salary, and you are then the supervisor of them.
Well, they report to the township because they're a township employee. They report to the
I
board, the
think
township
we're
meets
getting way
both of
too
them.
complicated.
I mean,
I think we're getting way too
Unless they're
complicated
really-
here.
I just would like to get this.
It's just the law. If the law is complicated, it's not the
No,
fault of
no.
anyone in this room.
No, he's allowed to hire an employee.
There's no statute that says that.
He is allowed to hire an employee.
I'm
He
sorry,
may
I
employ
didn't
and fix compensation of the township employees that the board deems necessary. He is allowed to hire who he wants.
You just read Jim Kelly's statement, which is not cited by
No,
any statute. You
no,
know,
It's
I
right
read
in
the
the,
statute.
it's right in,
I just read part of the statute.
So, Mr. Kelly, are we doing the right thing by passing this or not? I mean, really, I'm
This
not
is-
talking about legally.
first of all, I'll be clear. The board, can do whatever it wants to do with these type of resolutions. You're a board, you get to act like a board and make decisions. If you don't like this resolution, you don't like it. My analysis was based on you need an employee. Literally, at this point, I think the township itself really only has one employee as of today. And we spent all this time talking literally about how to hire maybe another part-time employee. But I don't think it's intent of the statute to require, and it says may, it doesn't bar, there's no prohibition against a supervisor hiring an employee. And, as I said, there's a decision in this circuit made by Judge Caldwell that basically said that and I cited the statute, the supervisor is chief executive officer of the township. And I would tell you that the intent of his, and if you read his decision, indicates that you would have the authority to hire an employee like this. So, if you want the board to participate in the hiring, you can do that, and that's the board's decision and yours. If you want to hire an employee, I'm of the opinion you can hire the employee for your office. Now, if you're going to hire an employee, or let's say hypothetically, someone that like a township administrator or a township juvenile coordinator who would report, those people would be reporting to this board. Someone working in your office, as I said, doing administrative tasks or doing GA, isn't reporting to this board, they're reporting to you. You know, you can hire someone if you'd like, or you can adopt this resolution. I think the resolution clears it up. It eliminates the question of whether you have the authority or not, because you're granted that authority. It just eliminates that question completely. And this board has that authority.
Would it be possible to table this resolution until we get that opinion that you mentioned from Judge Caldwell?
If I can find it, sure it's a trial court decision, but I'll.
Because I would reconsider if I had that, if I took that into
And dig it out.
consideration.
So would I.
We have a motion on the floor to approve it.
And she just made a motion to table, didn't you, Rachel?
There was already a motion
Well,
on the
there's
floor.
already a motion.
It's in order.
Well, who's gonna rescind, or who's going to?
I never made a motion.
There was a motion made
Who made a motion?
by Chapman, seconded by Victor, to approve the resolution. Okay,
And this discussion has been all about that.
right. So now what are we doing?
So
We're gonna vote?
Someone's gonna make another motion, again,
Vote
or we
to
vote.
rescind this motion? Jim, we've already got a motion on the table. That motion needs to be cleared up. We talked about this last time.
We can either vote on it, or you can have, one of the makers rescind it, or, ask that it be postponed to a date certain. Those are,
Okay, well, the motion's on the floor, so somebody needs to tell me what they want to do with this
I'd like to
motion.
make a motion that we approve the resolution.
The motion's there, so you guys want to vote on it, or you
I
guys
think
want to
we should
rescind?
vote on it.
Okay, so,
I can't support it without seeing something in writing.
You rescind your, did you second?
No, he made the motion.
I
So
made the
you rescind
motion.
your motion?
So I will make a new motion that we
oh,
approve.
wait,
No.
let's have a person that seconded it, rescind it.
Okay.
Who seconded it?
Melissa, so she won't.
Oh,
And
she,
I'll rescind this motion.
Okay.
I'll rescind it.
I'll make a motion to table it, a new motion to table it until the next month's meeting, before which time, or prior to the next month's meeting, we can review the opinion mentioned by Judge Caldwell, trial court decision mentioned by Judge Caldwell, mentioned by Attorney Kelly, and take that into consideration prior to vote next meeting.
I'll second that. I don't see any harm in waiting, one more month. You can still, you are, obviously, talking to people.
What's that? I mean, that's something that I would like to, why can't we just, what's the other way to do it? Just list the person's name down and vote on it at a meeting?
Yeah.
Why can't we have a special meeting and get it done with it? I don't wanna wait a month.
You have the authority to do that. Call a special meeting. As long as we all have that information prior to that special meeting, I don't see a problem with that at all.
I was just trying to do it as transparent as possible, and trying to make a big deal out of this.
I understand, and I don't fault you for it, I just would like to do things by the book, that's all.
But you don't need to have this resolution, you already have the power to hire somebody.
Would you,
it's up to the board.
okay, so we're voting on the motion to, table this.
yes.
Okay. Victor,
No.
Shay,
No.
Bledsoe,
No.
Chapman,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes,
Okay, the motion failed.
Motion
To table, it failed.
Motion to approve it.
Well, we already rescinded that motion.
No, you okay, so you're nothing pending next.
Do you have a motion approved?
I make a motion, we approve it.
I will second.
Okay, are we gonna discuss anymore, or are we done?
We got it.
Okay. Victor,
Yes.
Chapman,
No.
Shay,
Yes,
Lawrence,
no,
Bledsoe.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Would you mind still please sending me that, if you don't mind, Attorney Kelly? And if it avoids legal fees, I would also accept it in my mailbox if it avoids additional legal fees.
Ready? The next one?
Sure.
Okay. There you
All
go,
right.
Dan. Oh, you went.
Resolution on nepotism and patronage, we have two resolutions, and I want to bring, get a motion to, how does the motion pass or not?
Okay, there's I, nay, abstain, absent,
Yeah, don't worry. What?
and there's no place to sign.
Oh, no, you're gonna read it.
Oh, okay. All right, this is a resolution on nepotism and patronage. Whereas Algonquin Township is a unit of local government in McHenry County, state of Illinois, and whereas the Township Board recognizes that patronage and nepotism are bad and should be prohibited in Algonquin Township and in the Algonquin Township Road District, and whereas the Township Board desires to have a policy regarding patronage and nepotism, and whereas the Township Board considers a patronage hire to be the hiring of an employee solely on the basis of a political relationship or as a political favor, and whereas the Township Board considers patronage to be a practice in which an elected official gives government jobs to his or her supporters, friends, spouses, and relatives as a reward for working toward victory, and whereas the Township Board considers nepotism to be the hiring of an employee solely on the basis of a familial relationship, whereas the Township Board considers a familial relationship to be an individual who is related to the public official as father, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, first cousin, nephew, niece, husband, wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, stepfather, stepmother, stepson, stepdaughter, stepbrother, stepsister, half-brother, or half-sister, and whereas the Highway Commissioner, Andrew Dasher, has requested to join in this resolution, and this resolution will be binding upon the Algonquin Township Road District, now therefore be it resolved by the Algonquin Township Board, McHenry County, Illinois, that 1. Recitals. The recitals set forth above are incorporated here as if set forth fully here. Prohibited activities. Employment in Algonquin Township and Algonquin Township Road District will be given on the basis of merit and not solely on the basis of nepotism or patronage. As employees are hired based on merit, an employee who has the necessary knowledge and experience, but also has a family relationship with the supervisor, board of trustees, highway commissioner, clerk, or assessor will not be considered a nepotism hire. C, an employee as employees are hired based upon merit, an employee who has necessary knowledge and experience, but also has a political relationship with the supervisor, board of trustees, highway commissioner, clerk, or assessor, or is owed a political favor will not be considered a patronage hire. Algonquin Township, this is D, its departments and Algonquin Township Road District will not hire on the basis of nepotism or patronage, as such hiring is prohibited. E, the Township Ethics Ordinance applies, and any and all actions that violate the ethics ordinance violate this resolution. 3, effective date. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from August, it's already listed as 8, but we'll see. 2018, passed this day of August 2018 by the Board of Trustees of Algonquin Township in Henry County, Illinois.
All right, so that was a tall glass of water. All right. And then we have another one that we put.
Or should you just get it to them?
Well, they're two separate resolutions, correct?
Well, they're supposed to be, they're just alternative.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
They're just alternative methods of drafting it. As I said earlier, we didn't have any guidance on what you wanted.
And here's the other one.
You wanna read the other one?
Well, the other one's the same, so that it
Except for the,
takes up, let's just do it.
Wait, so
Well,
are we combining, so I
No, no, no.
understand correctly, are you combining this vote to pass both at the same time?
We don't necessarily have to pass anything tonight, as you know.
So
Why
there
don't-
was not a motion made,
no, there's,
No.
he's just reading them.
He's reading them.
okay.
How about if we list, the first one is resolution A,
Okay.
the second one as B,
So the first one includes the highway commissioner
Right.
and then A.
Right.
and this one would be B. That's not the exact number, that's not the number, but
No.
you're all right.
I'll put that in there.
All right, I'll read the whole thing. Resolution on nepotism and patronage. Whereas Algonquin Township is a unit of local government in McHenry County, state of Illinois, and whereas the township board recognizes that patronage and nepotism are bad and should be prohibited in Algonquin Township, and whereas the township board desires to have a policy regarding patronage and nepotism, and whereas the township board considers a patronage hire to be the hiring of an employee solely on the basis of a political relationship or as a political favor, and whereas the township board considers patronage to be a practice in which an elected official gives government jobs to his, her supporters, friends, spouses, and relatives as a reward for working toward victory, and whereas the township board considers nepotism to be the hiring of an employee solely on the basis of a familial relationship, and whereas the township board considers a familial relationship to be an individual who is related to the public official as father, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, first cousin, nephew, niece, husband, wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, stepfather, stepmother, stepson, stepdaughter, stepbrother, stepsister, half-brother, or half-sister. And now therefore be it resolved by the Algonquin Township Board of McHenry County, Illinois, that the recitals set forth above are incorporated here as if set forth fully here. 2, prohibited activities. 1, employment in Algonquin Township will be given on the basis of merit and not solely on the basis of nepotism or patronage. B, as employees are hired based upon merit, an employee who has the necessary knowledge and experience but also has a family relationship with the supervisor, board of trustees, assessor, will not be considered a nepotism hire. C, as employees are hired based upon merit, an employee who has the necessary knowledge and experience but also has a political relationship with the supervisor, board of trustees, clerk, or assessor, or is owed a political favor will not be considered a patronage hire. D, Illinois Township, Algonquin Township, pardon me, will not hire on the basis of nepotism or patronage as such hiring is prohibited. E, the township ethics ordinance applies and any and all actions that violate the ethics ordinance violate this resolution. 3, effective date. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from August to be filled in 2018. Pass this to be filled in day of August 2018 by the Board of Trustees of Algonquin Township, McHenry County, Illinois. All right.
So, we can discuss it without having a motion.
Well, realistically, let's see, yeah, it's on the list to be discussed, you can discuss all you want.
So, I just want to give a little bit of background on this. 2 months ago, Commissioner Gasser asked me to put a nepotism, resolution on the agenda. He supplied one. It was tabled by the board. And this is, one of his, I think, one of his causes that he stands for, that he's been very vocal about. So, we tabled it. Last month, we didn't get to any resolution, regarding nepotism or patronage because we mentioned Mr. Kelly was out of, town. And then, earlier this month, I believe, I communicated with trustee Lawrence, and she definitely indicated that she wanted to have something brought back on the agenda. So, Mr. Kelly did prepare the one with the road district. I've seen some comments that read everything in the paper, but unless, and I didn't know if Mr. Guest was gonna be back in time, but unless he decided that he wanted to participate in this, it was drafted just for that purpose. I have not had discussions with him, and so this board, I don't believe, can even take part in something like that, trying to bind a road district unless he came in and signed off on it as well. Is that correct? Okay. So when I saw that in the first resolution, I asked that the law office decide to strike the road district, because I don't think it's something that we as a board can have control over. Okay? And so, I don't even know why we would consider the first resolution at all. The second resolution, just would apply to us. I did happen to talk to trustee Chapman, and I think he had clearly had some problems with it, as well as I did. And then I did receive a kind email from Ms. Lawrence, and, she had some problems with it as well. So, so there's no reason that you have to pass legislation or pass a resolution until we have it all worked out the way we want it. But that's what meetings are for. In fact, I don't wanna bring this up because this meeting's been going slow, but I can have you bring it up, Mr. Chapman, but he even suggested that sometimes we're so rushed that we try to get through these meetings so fast that maybe at some point, every other month or so, and this is his suggestion, that we have more of a planning meeting, so we can go through a piece of legislation like this, a little bit line by line. I think so my personal opinion is, there's been so much feedback that they'd like to cross things out for this, that we table this, have it on the agenda, have everyone add their comments to it.
At the special meeting?
I don't even need to know if you do a special meeting, but just,
Well, we're having one.
oh, we are? Oh, yeah, okay. They're all special. Especially this one tonight. Oh, okay. Cal, you were supposed to provide the alcohol, but anyway, I'm just kidding. But anyways, that would be my suggestion, because the feedback I got is, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and do's and don'ts, and there's contradictions in there, and the other thing is, I don't think there's any rush, because I know of no nepotism or patronage in the township here, on the township side. I don't know of any right now at all. So, it's not like we're, and even the person I'm considering, I never met until the day I met her, okay? So, it would, so I don't think there's gonna be any conflict anyways. So we want to set up a policy, and definitely a principled policy on nepotism and patronage, but we don't necessarily need to have something, done tonight, because I don't know of anybody that's gonna be violating that in the next year or so anyways.
Well, since we're on the topic, we've opened up discussion, is it fair to
Yeah,
partake in
Yeah.
discussion?
sure.
I have a question, well, Attorney Kelly, you've already verified that you or one of your subordinates authored all three of these resolutions tonight. But I just wanted to ask you, I'd just like to confirm with you that Andrew Goss, or the Highway Commissioner, did in fact ask you to join in this resolution?
No, he was here a couple of meetings ago, and he sounded like he was a proponent of it and wanted to join it, but I never had any direct guidance from this board or anyone else, except that I think from Chuck and the sense of the board that he wanted not a lot of time spent on it, or something minimal that just hit the key points, and that's what I ran with. And we didn't spend a lot of time on it. We looked at a couple of things. I think we took a look at the general provisions of things like the Shackman Decree and that, which deals with the patronage aspect of it. And we attempted to find specific nepotism ordinances or resolutions that dealt with this, and I think all I can tell you is I think they're well hidden. And part of the problem is that I think municipalities are and units of government are concerned about the real litigation concerning violation of civil rights. Because if you have someone that has merit, and you turn them down based upon some outside reason, I think that could be, in certain cases, I'm thinking of one specifically, that could be certainly a civil rights violation. So we have to, that's why I drafted this the way I drafted it. I wanted to make it simple, but sort of exculpt or cut out or provide a provision so that we didn't get in trouble as far as violating someone's civil rights. But once again, you can write this however you want. I would tell you there are a couple of concerns that I have. I mean, we need to ensure that, for example, I mean, there's a specific law. I know it's in Illinois, I know it's been upheld by the Seventh Circuit here in Illinois, federal court in Illinois, dealing with married persons. And you can't necessarily prohibit the government, I mean, I'm not talking about private employers, the government can't necessarily prohibit a person from taking a job somewhere based upon their marriage to another person. You could certainly prohibit their kids from doing that. You could prohibit their nephews, nieces, uncles, aunts, grandparents, father and mothers, but you can't prohibit married people necessarily. And once again, if you're General Motors, you can do that. If you're Algonquin Township or the city of Chicago, that's a slightly different story, and you will open yourself up to litigation. Whether they prevail or not is a different story, but that's one of the concerns. So I tried to make this really basic. We could refine it and add, make it a lot more definite, but tell me what you want, I guess, is the question. And that's what we need, or put something together and then send it or circulate it, and we can tell you if it violates some other rule, or we have a concern.
Thank you for that very extensive response. Now, you stated that Commissioner Gasser was a proponent, quote, a proponent of it a couple of months ago. How is it possible when this resolution was not created until July?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, it states in the resolution that the Commissioner Andrew Gasser has requested to join in this resolution. How is that possible that Andrew Gasser, because I asked you, did you?
Well, you have to understand, this is
I'm
just
sorry,
a,
I have the floor right now,
well,
I'm asking you a
this is
question.
just a ridiculous
I'm sorry,
question.
I'm a board member,
Go
you're
ahead,
interrupting
just
me.
go ahead.
Okay, finish.
How is it possible that you just stated that Andrew Gasser was a proponent of it, meaning this resolution, which I asked you a couple of months ago, when this resolution was not even written or drafted until July, according to your own billing records?
I can give you the answer to that.
And he provided his own suggested resolution.
And there you go. So he was in favor of a nepotism and patronage.
And anti,
Yes,
nepotism.
absolutely. And that's from that statement and from Andrew standing there and saying that we're already doing that in the township. That's what led to, putting that in there. So
is it correct that by that statement that Trustee Chapman has just stated that you inferred that the highway commissioner, as stated in this resolution, has requested to join in this resolution? Is that where you inferred that from?
Yep.
Thank you. I have another couple of questions, if you don't mind. Did Andrew Gasser, in fact, participate in the drafting or have any input in this writing of this resolution whatsoever?
No, this was just a draft for your discussion.
Okay, thank you. And then, so I think that much like all of the resolutions brought forth tonight, I have serious questions and concerns. Attorney Kelly has already confirmed that your law firm is responsible for the writing, for the creation of these items. Did the board itself have any part in the drafting of this?
No, I wish you did. I mean, that's the point of this resolution, is to initiate discussion. And you can do what, as I said earlier, do whatever you want with it, adopt it, not adopt it,
Okay.
change
And
it.
then lastly, who requested for it to be drafted?
Supervisor.
I did,
Okay.
and you also asked me to have something on nepotism as well, as I think is a.
Actually, at the last month's I'm sorry, I misspoke. At the last month's meeting, there was a resolution provided to all the trustees, which was drafted by Commissioner Gosser as a courtesy to the board, which is the resolution which I had in mind when I asked for it to be reconsidered at this meeting. Not a brand new resolution written by Attorney Kelly. I see numerous issues with this. First of all, it attempts to redefine the words nepotism and patronage. I can't sign my name to a document stating that I believe something to be true when it is not. Merriam-Webster, for example, defines nepotism as favoritism, as an appointment to a job based on kinship. It does not say solely based on kinship, like this document does. It does not say except when they have knowledge or experience. This resolution is actually condoning nepotism and patronage when it says, and I quote, "An employee who has the necessary knowledge and experience, but also has a political, unquote, or family relationship will, quote, not be considered a nepotism or patronage hire, respectively." That's a redefinition to me. This is quite literally the opposite of an anti-nepotism resolution. It in fact condones nepotism and patronage, and not at all what I had in mind when I requested the anti-nepotism from last month to be reheard today. Algonquin Township and its constituents is, or should be, keenly aware of the consequences which accompany the practice of nepotism, even among those with the, quote, necessary skills and experience. And this resolution would allow history to repeat itself, a history from which we are still suffering financial and other consequences. For this reason, I cannot and will not support this resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was no doubt that this board was not going to pass a politically charged resolution about nepotism and patronage. That should have been perfectly clear to everybody. The other thing is that a remedy has been suggested, that this board, that we have a special meeting and that you send your comments and your changes that anybody has to Attorney Kelly, who will put them in there, and we will talk about it at the next meeting. So let's do that.
So we have a motion to table.
Motion to table?
Yeah.
We didn't, we're in table, we have
There's
none.
nothing.
No,
Okay.
Oh, no motion, okay.
no, just to put it on the agenda at the special meeting.
Okay.
So no action.
Right.
All right. I'm sure, do you have any new business, anybody?
I have other business.
I may have other business, new business.
I don't know.
Wait, no. New business is done, old business,
Okay.
no.
Old business?
Well, we had executive session, executive minutes, we don't have that tonight, right?
I don't know if you need, I don't, but do you need, okay.
All
All
right.
right, so you have old business.
All right, my other business is in reference to the abolishing of the township road district. And I have a number of comments. First of all, the first thing that's been mentioned over and over is that abolishing it is not to save money. Okay, I'll buy that. Second thing, I've lived in Algonquin Township for over 60 years. The road district was run and the whole township was run smoothly with very little complaint, if any, on a very low budget for particularly legal. The second thing, as far as that goes. We had a load of allegations of wrongdoing, which were disproved and should have been actually the purview of the state's attorney, not us, not our township hiring and paying a fortune for attorneys. In fact, eventually, the state's attorney said there was, actually there was disproved and there should not have been all this money. So we paid out a bundle. The next thing, as far as I'm concerned, all of the problems actually have come as of the new administration. We have allegations of pay to play by people who donated money to the person, and we also have patronage in the department. So as far as I'm concerned, the biggest part of the problem is not the people that were here before, who actually, no matter what you want to call them, did a good job. So what I'm saying is now people are making a big thing about wanting to have the public, they want the people to have the right to choose, to not have the right to choose as far as road things. What kind of a thing does that, how many people consider that an intelligent thing? I don't. So, especially in a time when people want more power to choose. So, to go beyond that, for one, if you happen to have a hole on your property and are concerned about your foot, that you could get hurt in the hole, then that hole you do not get rid of, your foot, or pardon me, that hole, you do not get rid of your foot, you get rid of the hole. And what we're talking about here is trying to get rid of the foot in that business. So as far as I'm concerned, this is another, who knows what kind of a political ploy, and another thing that really is trying to fix something that isn't broken. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Executive respond, do you want to respond to that or no?
Trustee Shay, do you live on a township maintained road?
No,
Thank you.
I have.
Okay.
New business?
Oh, the last thing I wanted to mention is that, Trustee Shay, you mentioned that, quote, everything was disproved by the state's attorney. That's actually untrue. If you'd like, I can send you, since I don't have the 52-page memo from the state's attorney on me at this time, I can email you the specific pages. I can research that for you and send you the specific pages in which the state's attorney actually acknowledges actions inconsistent with law and specifically says, makes a point to emphasize that this 52-page document is not to be construed as a declaration of innocence.
So you're saying that the state's attorney is not doing his job?
No, I just
That's
said
just what you said.
exactly the words that I just came out of my mouth, and nothing more and nothing less.
Oh, then nothing came out of your mouth. Oh, why?
Okay.
I have some new business I would like to talk about. I received an email, as I'm sure we all received an email, from Mr. Gasser to Mr. Supervisor, stating that he was upset. I have a copy of the email in the back, if anybody would like a copy of it, I made copies for everyone, that he was upset and disappointed that it has come to it, talking about his work arrangements for the Deputy Highway Commissioner. And he has approached the supervisor for a solution to accessing the Highway Department offices with no success. And clearly stating that he had a problem with the deputy entering the building, which he did. And then it goes into effective immediately, the Algonquin Township Highway Department will no longer be participating in the following functions: bingo setup, empty and recycling dumpsters, electronics recycling, no pre-work premises inspection, walk around, No township mowing or watering on the township property. No building maintenance, trash collection. No scheduling of new bus rides after August 17th, 2018. No maintenance of township buses. No fuel for township buses and no longer paying salaries of bus drivers. And I also have a statute here that states that I also have copies of, or anybody that would like a copy of the statutes, that 605 ILCS 5/6-132 recycling. A road district may organize, administer, or participate in one or more recycling programs. Also, 605 ILCS 5/6-131 senior transportation and mass transit programs, district road fund, that Section 6-131, Senior Citizen Transportation and Mass Transit Programs Road District Fund. A road district may use money in its district fund, road fund, to pay for all or part of the direct cost of the Senior Citizen Transportation Programs or Senior Citizen Mass Transit Programs, or both. And we also approved a budget that he included in his budget that these programs would be run starting with this fiscal year. And I feel that he has a statute obligation to the people to follow through with these programs and not to cut them. I also would like to emphasize that I feel that he is playing a blackmail political game because because we're not allowing his deputy, or I should say the supervisor.
We're stating an opinion here rather than.
Excuse me, I have the floor. Is not allowed.
Point of order,
The
Mr.
township,
Stop.
you, Gasser, is cutting programs
Let her speak, please.
and removing
What's your
services.
point of order?
The point of order is that there's an opinion being expressed, which is not germane to the topic.
Do we not have an
Well,
agreement?
No, I think, she's on topic, so go ahead.
Okay. Removing services that benefit the most vulnerable residents along with recycling that was #1 in the state. And the reason why I bring up the deputy is because of the email. Did you read the email, Rachel?
Will you pass it to me?
Absolutely.
Can you pass it over? I may have read it, I just don't know it offhand, I'd like to refresh my
So
memory.
the first part of the email talks about how the highway, have you read the email? Anybody else want a copy? That the highway department, he is specifically stating, bringing up the deputy, bringing the deputy up, and then right below him bringing the deputy up, he says all these things are getting cut. So that to me shows this is being a political game, and now it's hurting these people that need these services.
So is he saying that these will be discontinued, or is he saying that the highway department will be transferring them to the township?
Well, I don't think we have an answer to that, or nor can I speak for that person, but I will say, if I could grab them real quick, I'll bring it back. There's a number of things that were stated in here that aren't being done anyways by the road district. Okay, but anyways, whether that matters or not. But yes, when we had our budget discussions, we definitely were under the impression that these things would continue, because otherwise we would have moved line items to different things. So there was talk about the township itself helping with some of these expenses because of the fact that the road districts building and equipment fund had a lot of extra dollars in it, and they could pay rent out of that, but they couldn't pay for certain items. So that was all part of the budget discussions, and then we had an IGA that we talked about in pretty much in theory during the budget discussions, and then on Friday I received this letter. But I would like to remain hopefully optimistic that this doesn't have to come to this, that we can still work out deal, okay? So that's,
Meaning where the township takes over for
no, where the township and the road district just come to an IGA, and we're fine, we still can be fine with that. But, you know, there's some, like you said, this basically is kind of a, you know, do what I want letter, but there's no reason why, we still shouldn't have hope. We can always have more discussions, and, see where we come from.
Can I also?
But, go ahead,
I wasn't, okay.
but,
I also would like to take a direct quote from our June 14, 2017 meeting. That is when Mr. Gasser said how his core values are, direct quote, integrity first, service before self, excellence in all that we do, and community always. A continued recycling program without any interruption. Also, I have several documents. August 24th, 2017, we continue to make recycling Algonquin Township better. September 30th, 2017, another successful Algonquin Township Department recycling event. October 28th, 2017, the Algonquin Township Highway Department recycling program is better than ever. Also, another post from January, no services have been cut, none. We did miss one specialized recycling event due to safety reasons. We do now charge for paint recycling due to circumstances. Also some things on Cal's blog. We've added, this one is from January 2017. We added electronic forms that work. We make our recycling page much more interactive and partner with our environmental defenders of McHenry County. Our bus service for seniors and disabled folks is now all interactive as well. We will continuously make it better.